Welcome, everybody, to the Synapse Philosophy Group. I am your host, Dr. Haig John, and we're on Dee Dee Palmer's extremely important book, The Chiropractor's Adjuster. And we're on page 507. Again, this is the title of this chapter is innate. And again, this is the second time he's saying this is important. This is innate intelligence, and we're going for it. All right, you guys, everybody ready to go? We're getting ready tonight. Tomorrow morning, we're flying to Cuba, and that whole crew down there, we're going to have a good time. So I'm really excited for it. All right. Imagine, if you can, the feeling of the author of Innate when you read the following. The PSC explains that innate is in each being, next to which is the brain, which makes impulses, which passes through nerves and makes mechanical action. This movement is function. This stage is where man, with function, substance, or electricity that is conveyed through pipes or wires through actions of machinery, it expresses the purpose of the machine. You have reached at fundamental the basis of everything. From that can be elaborated all that man's function has or may create. It is a giving man of unity that never existed before the advent of chiropractic. No man ever linked the brain with physical through a direct nerve system and gave to the brain the power of transforming or converting, a giving God the opportunity to express its quantity through man in the form of manner. It is not my purpose to express my opinion as regards to religion, but we must take life step by step and show its basis as it is. No matter what opinion each may have, it must have one basic truth. The alimentary canal alone is but a set of dead organs. But when analyzed through each successive step and given an innate, we have the physical canal physiologically complete. Okay, he's going to rebut this right now in a minute, right? That wasn't from Dee Dee. When the writer of the above quoted paragraph had written 2/3, he forgot that the PSC was making an explanation of innate and says, "It is not my purpose to express any opinion regarding religion." And yet in the previous sentence, he surpasses any potentate or clergy on earth by giving God the opportunity to express its quantities through man in the form of manner. We should unite the two. This is from Dee Dee. Material and immaterial as one. Now you realize the quote people say all the time is actually misquoted, to unite the man, the physical, with man, the spiritual. He never really says it that way. This is actually how he says it. This is the quote that's most misquoted. Okay. I'm putting a big star by that one in my book. So we should unite the two, material and immaterial, as one. And we will do this in our study of theosophy as a foundation stone. The unity of earth, a concrete thing, which heaven, an abstract thing, which is accomplished by a third thing, God. God being an intellectual thing. Now this is Dee Dee again.
That's a quote, yeah.
Yes, that was a quote. This is Dee Dee again. This kind of irreligious expression shows that he is no more fitted for a preacher of theology than for an educator of chiropractic. I love Dee Dee. The man who wrote the above quoted paragraph was not able to make an intellectual explanation of innate, therefore started out the use of PSC as a cat's paw. Okay, that was a lot in there. But really, what he's saying, he's misusing terminology. He's telling this guy, you got to be more specific, right? Pasquale would say the same thing, wouldn't he, Bob and Carol? Is, be more specific in what you're talking about. He's throwing a lot of anecdotes out there, and Dee Dee's saying, let's just be clearer in our communication. What do you guys feel? How's everybody doing tonight? All right. This is the man of whom J.M. Loban says, and I say to you that the world, when the man dies, will sustain a loss like unto the destruction of a nation, a loss which cannot be estimated. So here's to the real force in the chiropractic world, the underlying source from which every chiropractor consciously or unconsciously gets the best that he has. B.J. Palmer, DCPHC. And then this is Dee Dee again. This is the man who, quotes again, linked the brain with the, with the physical through a direct nerve system. You might just as well make a direct shortcut from the stomach to the anus by cutting out the small intestine, including the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. Meckel's diverticulum and the mesentery caecum colon, the appendix and the rectum to make one straight intestine to do the whole business, thereby saying about 20 feet of useless canal. Yes, it was he who made the direct shortcut. It was, in his mind, quite an improvement upon man, cutting out the cranial nerves, the entire sympathetic nerve system. Why not do as much for the digestive system as he has for the nervous system? He simplified the nervous system by reducing all to one brain system, branching from spinal cord. Why not disencumber the human family so much useless imaginary entrails by reducing the alimentary canal? Why will not 1 foot do as well as 20? He has cut out the trunks, roots, rootlets, nerves by starting with branches direct from the spinal cord. Why not do as much for the digestive tube? He is the originator, discoverer, and developer of this direct nerve system. By these shortcuts, the student is able to make comparatively the same sort of cut of time and labor. He will not now have intact his ingenuity as how the cranial and sympathetic are connected, for he has a direct route never dreamed of by former anatomists. He's going on a little bit of rant of B.J. Palmer saying, you're cutting it out, you're making it too simple. What do you guys feel?
Was that BJ or to Joy Loban?
To me, is that for Joy Loban or is that BJ?
No, I think it's about BJ. He's talking. Loban praised BJ, and then Dee Dee came back and said, "Yeah, well, look what he did to the intestinal tract."
Well, instead of giving the praise to Dee Dee, right? He's saying, he's like, hey, what about me? What am I, chopped liver? It's like, come on. He's leaving Dee Dee out of there. And I could see the man he's actually, he's a little hurt by it, right? Giving all the credit to BJ, but then he's shooting holes in it.
I'm only listening. I'm not reading, but when I heard the reference to PSC, this is 1910. So Dee Dee was out of PSC.
Yeah.
And what that reference would be Loban to the old PSC. And Loban left Palmer to start Universal Chiropractic Association, then off to Pennsylvania, and then I believe it became national. So that's why I thought it was.
That sounds right. That sounds probably what he's quoting is him, who is talking about BJ, and he's setting the record straight. I can feel the passion in it. Very good. All right. I will continue. After filling 155 pages with such jargonity, that is so funny. I don't know why D.D. Palmer makes me laugh, because he is just ranting, and I just think it's a lot of fun. He appeals on the last page to the reader as follows: the character of the science, but expresses its creator. And if, after concentrated study, you are pleased, we shall be glad to hear from you. Or if you desire to investigate further, remember, it is our mutual interest to allow me to convert your interest to a practical possession of your own. This is the man who writes volumes of unintelligible jargonity. He doesn't like this guy's writing, obviously. He's like, this is the guy who's rambling on, and he's just throwing out jargon. He's being verbose. January, the number of VIN contains 4 cuts of vertebra, copied from a chiropractor's booklet. These are used to explain why vertebra become luxated. The writer thinks that sitting cross-legged, resting the weight on the body of one limb, carrying heavy loads on one side, etc., cause the vertebra to become displaced. In quotes, the parts affected by branches of the cutoff nerve are reasons given why nerves are pinched and squeezed. The writers concluded this 3-page article by telling patients who have vertebral displacements how to replace them. The ill effects of these habits can be overcome by constant and determined effort to shift the labor of the overworked limb to the other limbs that have been neglected. Walk erect, and at all times, sitting, standing, walking, hold the body in a correct position. And in time, with exercise and hygienic living, the ill effects will be counteracted.
Again, he's quoting somebody else there in that last paragraph.
But he doesn't give his explanation of.
No, he's saying that it's somebody else is in this other article. This thing's been written that says that if you sit funny, you're gonna luxate vertebra, and if you just sit up, if you walk straight and do exercise, it's all going to go away. But he's quoting somebody else when he says that. That's not.
So in my mind,
somebody else saying, "I don't. This is not the way it works."
Well, am I reading it that maybe is he agreeing with this fella?
No, I don't think so.
He doesn't have to offer a retort.
But the whole thing has been attacking, and so this is just one more example of something that's incorrect.
Okay.
He says, this is what he says, and he said, "How crazy is it to think that just sitting around cross-legged is going to subluxate you? That's not going to do it."
How many times do we tell someone, take the wallet out of your back pocket? Wait, Bob, you're muted. You're muted, Bob. You want
this high-tech stuff.
Nerves are becoming tense or slack. Can you get it? Just press your space bar. It'll unmute you.
Look at the bottom left of your screen. There should be a little thing down there to tell you that you can click on to open it up.
And the space bar will unmute you too. Just press it. There you go.
Okay, I got you.
All right.
There you are.
Yeah, we might talk about, people taking their wallet out and all that stuff, but Dee would not agree with us.
I'm in firm agreement with you. Absolutely. It's so much more than that. And, I have to go back to Pasquale again of how he really just talked about it's so much more than this. Then we aren't even ready to comprehend 100% of really what we are doing as chiropractors. He said in the book, David Shiner's book, he said, when I'm misquoting it, but when people are spiritually ready, they will see what chiropractic is, what it's really all about. And the chiropractors hopefully will be the first one to realize it. It's taking us a long time, but we're getting there, right? That's why we do podcasts. Talk about it. Go ahead.
Levan is the one that started the rumor about BJ hitting DD with the car as well.
Oh, is that right?
Because the parade went up the street in front of his school. He was a little irritated.
Jeez. I mean, I wish I was there. That's like a place in history that I would have liked to have been. With DD at the parade, you know, I would have dove in front of him. Don't get him with the car. All right. Next. Nerves are capable of becoming tense or slack, firm or flaccid, expanded or narrowed, irritated or soothed, excited or repressed, lengthened or contracted, stretched or shrunken, degenerated or regenerated. As I have said in another article, nerves are composed of one or more nerve fibers. The axis cylinders of one or more of the filaments may become degenerated by pressure, injury, or poison. Now, people talked about, I had somebody just message me who talked about, what is it? Toxins, what do people say? You know, it's physical stress, emotional stress, chemical stress, right. Toxins, thoughts, and whatever, right? This is where he's actually beginning to talk, not beginning, he said it before, but where he's talking about can be generated by pressure or poisons. So that's toxicity of the body coming from the system. They may be affected in part or in whole, with medullary sheaths may become broken into segments and disintegrated. The axis cylinder may go under dissolution. Changes of a degenerative character occur as the result of poisons, which may be associated with such diseases as tetanus, diphtheria, septicemia, measles, smallpox, and typhoid fever. The effects of poison on these neurons differ according to the rapidity of their actions, depending upon the length of time over which it extends. As I have said elsewhere, the same poisons or injury does not affect the nerve fibers in all persons in the same manner. This degenerative condition is one of necrosis, a softening of nerve tissue, because of hyperthermia. The chiropractor who knows the nature of nerves and their paths of distribution is able to locate the vertebra on which those nerves and muscles are made to act abnormally. By replacing the displaced bone, even in an acute case of poisoning, he's able to prevent further abnormal functioning. Functions are performed normally when nerves are not interfered with by pressure, and abnormally when they are drawn out of alignment. Degeneration is pathological. Regeneration is physiological. Destructive and constructive forces, right? These two conditions may be simultaneously active in either neurotic or osseous tissue, or in what is that? P-E-U-R-O-N-E-S, purons. Degeneration.
Young tissue.
Good.
Puer is a child in Latin.
Good, thank you. Such a useful thing is learning Latin, man. It really is.
I studied Latin.
It is. I kid you not.
They still taught it when I was in high school.
Latin all the time.
For 2 years.
It made nomenclature so much easier in school, but I'm terrible at it. But you know a few things, and it gets you a long way.
Something comes around. I go, gee, I learned that from Miss Dr. Heaps.
There you go. That's great. Okay. Degeneration of necessity must precede regeneration. The in chromatosis A degenerative process usually reaches its maximum in about 3 weeks, the length of time of self-limited diseases to terminate either in recovery or death. When the heat becomes sufficiently intense to necrose the nerve tissue, the degenerative process reaches its maximum. Tonicity is lessened, the fever subsides, and the regenerative processes begin. These may progress rapidly or slowly, that it may take months to complete them. Or the necrotic tissue may never be fully regenerated without replacing the vertebra and relieving the nerve impingement. Osseous tissue undergoes as perfect regeneration as any tissue in the body through calcification and ossification of an embryonal tissue known as callus. Nerve degeneration is always accompanied by inflammation. Disease consists of modifications of tissue, modified functions of tissue. Inflammation of nerve is known as neuritis. An inflamed nerve will be found red and swollen and perhaps infiltrated with serum and pus. The ability of the nerve to conduct impulses and sensation but depends on the quality, and this is modified by heat. Efferent nerves contract muscles, supply energy to gland secretion, gauge the capacity of blood vessels, in fact, control every movement of the body. The power of afferent nerves to convey sensation is determined by this condition. For the proper performance of conducting impulses and sensations, they will require a certain degree of tonicity. Normal tension, and this depends on normal amount of heat, the variation of caloric modification, and quality of nerves. Nerves have but two functions: convey impulse outward and sensation inward. Their conductivity is said to be physiological when motor impulses and sensations are normal, pathological when abnormal. That was all a lot. Okay. He's giving anatomy lessons. He's giving us a much clearer understanding of the nerve system. In comparison, he's putting us back to true north from what the other guy said and giving us a proper, educated explanation. Is that, you guys feel any differently? I think he's doing a stand-up job. I'm going to finish this paragraph, okay? 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs. Their conductivity is said to be physiological when motor impulses and sensations are normal, pathological and abnormal. A great amount of experimental work has been done by chemists and physiologists with a view to discover the why and how heat regulation. This is accomplished by causation of fever, this distractive characteristics of the larger share of the disease would be explained, and physiological and pathological metabolism would be understood. This is just that. Just what? By the discovery and this is just what? By the discovery and development of chiropractic, I have done. He's explaining dis-ease, right? And this is what I have done with chiropractic, and sending it home right there. Heat regulation is the most important problem which physiologists have to study. When it exists in an abnormal degree, we have health. And where there is too much or not enough, we have disease. The body somewhere, this is where I got to just mark this. He's talking about disease, okay? The body somewhere and somehow possesses the ability to control the production of heat and to offset its loss. Exposed to zero temperature, there is a necessity of a greater production. When the surrounding atmosphere is above the normal temperature of man, there is an all-wise provision to prevent its aberration. Perspiration is increased, preventing hyperthermia. Go ahead. Did you say something else?
To prevent its absorption.
Okay, the production of heat is a nerve function, functional excitivity of nerves, as well as that of muscle, requires nutritive support in the form of food. Involuntary heat production calls for involuntary muscular metabolism. All functions, including that which is essential one of heat, are under the control of innate intelligence. In all parts of the body are in normal position, and the nerves free from impingement. All functions, including the production of heat, will be performed in a normal manner. Chiropractors are able, and this is in parentheses, as so far as they know, to regulate the heat of the body. They can create fever by luxating vertebra or decrease by adjusting displaced bones. Is not heat modification concomitant with all pathological disease? You know, I don't know if I've ever caused, I have adjusted people, especially a very stuck occiput. You adjust them, wham, and turns red and hot. And it's the first time that vertebra has seen freedom in its life. So I have seen it get hot. Can I control that? What do you guys think? I don't think
It's
so.
not your job. It's not your job to control it. If you remove the subluxation and the body expressed heat for some reason, then that was what it needed to do and hadn't been able to.
That's right. It needed to express it in that moment, right? And it's doing what it needed to do. I have had children and adults have had fevers get better when I've adjusted them, but I didn't adjust them for the fever, right? But the body was able to function better when the subluxation was cleared. As simple as that, right?
We don't promise to make symptoms go away. We just, symptoms get worse or get better sometimes when you adjust because the body's doing something. Our job is to find where the interference is and let the body, that's what he's saying here.
Yeah.
The nerves know, the innate knows, and if the nerves are clear, then innate's going to take charge and things are going to happen the way they're supposed to. It gets hotter, it gets colder, but the body knows how to balance when the nerves are not interfered with, is what he says.
All functions, including the very essential ones of heat, are under the control of innate intelligence. You're not in control intellectually. You're not in control as a chiropractor. Innate is on the job and doing the right thing in the right moment, the right time.
Why is he saying they can create fever by luxating?
Well, that's what I was saying. Like I that's one question I had as well. I've never been able to create a fever in somebody's body, but I guess I've never subluxated someone. I would imagine if you do an incorrect adjustment, this is where you're talking about it's being specific. If it's not specific, you can cause that problem, and you put a force into somebody that it doesn't need that force in that area. I'm sure it would turn red and hot and be unhappy.
So that's what he's trying to say there
I think you're right.
Is you didn't move that bone right or something like that.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. You can cause this problem. You get punched in the neck, it's going to turn red. It's not going to feel so good, but if you adjust it properly and it's meant to go down, then you're on the right track. Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing Dee Dee say as well here. Is if the listing's ASR and somebody's coming in and poking ASL, it's going to create more problems. That's more of a luxation. That's more of a disharmony.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember
a luxation can happen when you fall down on the sidewalk out here in the snow that's happening here in DC tonight.
But if you're giving an improper adjustment,
that's natural though. That's not on purpose.
But that's not. He's not saying where the luxation comes from. He says if the nerve is luxated, if the bones are luxated from however they got that way, it can cause an increase in heat, or it can cause that it can't dissipate the heat that it knows it wants to, or it causes more heat because it thinks it's too cold.
Right. Too much function or too little.
Correct.
He wants it to be proper.
However,
So,
that luxation happens. If the chiropractor does the wrong adjustment, does the wrong force, applies the wrong force, that can cause a luxation. But you can also, fall down the stairs and get luxated.
But this is saying they can cause it if it's not done properly. The more I'm reading that last paragraph, and he's saying, they can create fever by luxating vertebra or decrease by adjusting displaced bones. If
True.
you're causing the subluxation,
Right.
the body's going to go into a wound response and
I see where you're seeing that. Yes.
and try and do its best to heal. Go ahead, Bob.
I usually every once in a while somebody comes in and it's like the wife says how her husband tried to do this to her for him, tried to give him an adjustment, like.
I have my dad picks me up at baseball practice and drops me like that until my bones crack. I'm like, you got to tell your dad to stop doing that. I'm going to call him right now and tell him to stop that immediately. Oh yeah, I've heard all those things, man. Oh, craziness. Well, this was a mouthful of innate, and I wanted to read it through. Did you guys get any insights from that? The next chapter is liver. We're not going to start on that one today. I'm already on vacation, hung out with Mason a little bit earlier today, and I'm hanging up my hat and I'm taking this time off, even though it's a working vacation. I've got to speak on Thursday and Friday. I don't mind a single bit. So it'll be with a good crew. It's going to be a lot of the New Beginnings folks, which I'm stoked. It'll be a lot of fun. So I have no idea what to expect, but I can't wait to eat the food. And get adjusted. Oh my gosh, I need an adjustment. Oy, oy, oy. Hope somebody's got a portable table. I bet we can get somebody in Havana to make us a table real quick. Probably be a really good one, I bet you. Well,
you were trying to think about the 3 T's earlier: thoughts, toxins, and trauma.
Thoughts, toxins, and trauma. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Physical stress, chemical stress, emotional stress. And that the toxins of the body, the poisons. He talks about poisons, and he doesn't hold back. Now we've dumbed all that down. Too much sugar, too much this, too much poison. Absolutely. I feel like we're being poisoned with this crazy fog.
You reading that reminded me, and it was a mouthful, that this book, we're at page 509. Look how thick this book is.
Yeah.
Compared to books that are written today are like that, big text. And we're on page 509, and this is a lot of text per page, and it's challenging to read.
Yeah.
And this is D.D. Palmer, who people allegedly are like, oh, he was a fish peddler. Oh, he's a spiritualist. He was a magnetic person. And it's just, this is proof right here how freaking educated he was, how learned of a man he was, and how well he knew the human body, literally inside and out.
And he's saying, this is so important. I want you to get it right. Stop messing around. This is important. Get your shit together. And that's for all of us. I mean, in reality, of being able to communicate chiropractic effectively, Mason and I were talking a little bit about, explaining chiropractic a little bit to people, closing them. We want to understand so they will take action. It's not how much you say, really. It's really what they have to just believe in us. And when we know in our hearts when we're doing something right, you don't have to say so much. You don't have to talk. You're in the right place. I'm going to help you, right? I'm going to help your body heal itself. You're ready to do it. It doesn't take a soliloquy from 9 pages of D.D. Palmer quoted. It's really as people want what we've got. They just don't really know they don't really know what it is that we've got. Let's be real. Right?
I mean, didn't D.D. have like the greatest astrological connection in the world? Yeah. I mean, better than like the best medical schools back in those days.
BJ had that collection.
Have what he had.
They started. That was DD's first.
Nope, DD was first.
DD started it.
This
Yeah.
collection went
Huge.
to the Smithsonian Institute. BJ's is still sitting in Davenport. In
That's
fact, both
right.
the
The
BJ's
nerve of-
collection was originated from his dad, Dee. And he
Yes.
talked about Dee in this book a few pages ago, is still the master person of the osteological collection.
Cool.
Palmer Sr.
Palmer Sr.
Yeah. You know, it's just amazing how anybody could diss him in any way. It's ridiculous.
Well, where it comes from is the lack of knowledge.
Yeah, they don't.
And they don't know. They've only read one volume or maybe two, or read a few pages of this and that, or gone through the 30 principles once. They haven't studied D.D. Palmer properly. And that's it is so nice where we have a lot of the historians that are going back and setting the story straight. D.D. was the most learned man of the time, definitely of neurophysiology, human physiology, emotional, physical state, innate intelligence, spirituality. He studied every single thing he could. There's quotes in here from the 1600s. He's saying, I've got my hands on everything I possibly could, and it's not enough. So I've got to write it down. I've got to help you understand it. And you know, BJ wrote a lot where you're in his thought process of understanding, right? Dee is saying it is this way. I don't have to gloss over it. I know what it is. Let's keep moving forward. Barry, did I cut you off down there?
There were so many people still now and has been that have been you know, misquoting him because you know, because they don't know where where they go, you know.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. That's why I'm saying, like, you know, the man, the physical, the man, the spiritual is misquoted most of the time. But this is where it comes from. I'm pretty sure it's that one sentence. And then he says it in different ways in other places, but it's misquoted most of the time. Right. And,
a couple of weeks ago when there was the talk about Dee was literally talking about the ribs and all the destruction of and what was happening and innate replicating and repairing. And then the Atlas, the work was done as nice of a dovetail as a carpenter has ever made. And when you hear that, you would think of B.J. Palmer because of the upper cervical analysis evolving over time, the B.J. Palmer Research Clinic. So I posted those quotes, that reading that Haig did, we all did, a few weeks ago on an upper cervical website. We did a poll. The majority of them, and these are people who are also teaching knee chest, amongst many other types of people in our own profession, but it was all specifically to an upper cervical group. The majority of them, I wrote down, was it Dee, BJ, Michael Kale, or Dr. Blair? The majority of them said BJ Palmer.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope. And that quote we had just read over in our meeting. And I knew it immediately. I was like, yeah, he's throwing them a curveball. That was a really good one. Yeah. You know, we have currently, this group, we have read more of D.D. Palmer's book than I guarantee. I'm being generous at saying 90% of the profession. Living, it's probably way less, right? Because a lot of the old guys, I mean, they read through a lot of this stuff and they studied this work. Sid Williams was one of the people that quoted D.D. Palmer properly most of the time. Other people on stage at DE and other places all over, they're usually quoting the incorrect part of D.D. Palmer from this book most of the time. But it's the old guys and gals that came before us that did study this work. Living now, I bet you it's that number's gone down. It's probably maybe 1% that has even gotten this far. Okay. It's appalling. We need to have this as basic reading. This should be part of a curriculum. This needs to be done by this, end of this quarter, and then the rest of this done by that quarter. We'll get there. We'll get there in some way. So today's not the day, but we're putting our effort forward to do that, right? Because people can go back and listen to this. I just read it for them. They can listen to it on MP3, right? Ladies and gentlemen, we've created history today. We have created history. I feel blessed to be a small portion of chiropractic history. Bob and Carol, I loved having Bob there and sharing your daughter at our event in South Carolina. That was fantastic. I had a lot of fun that day. And we just got invited to Life University. We're going to be there in April, and we're going to be on campus at Life University. That is muy good. Muy. So we might not have CEs for this one because we have to get it all done through Life, and I just did it all through Sherman. But if my team wants to help me get it done through Life University this time, because I'm approved for 24 credits all the way through 20, I think, for all different parts of my seminar with Sherman. I'd have to start over again with that, which isn't that hard. All I have to do is get them an outline of the seminar. By the time I'm done with vacation, I'll be ready to send it to them. Okay. So, but Life University, we're going to have a great one, and it's going to be level 2. What you did, Bob, was level 1, innate newborn adjusting and innate baby. We're going to do level 1 and level 2. So, and part of it will be, I'll send home, you're going to get some of the videos to review that we recorded. We had it done professionally recorded with an actual professional cameraman. And so we'll have that as online masterclass very, very soon. And we don't have to repeat a lot of that stuff. It'll be there. And then we'll move on to level 2, which is going to be very exciting. And then we could do 3 and 4. And then we can have certification. Woohoo! So everybody, my vacation has started. Okay. I am out. I can't wait to see you guys again next Tuesday. I'll be coming home on Sunday.
Vaya con Dios.
Vaya con Dios, amigo.
Safe travels.
Muchas gracias. All right, everybody. Have a gorgeous night. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again on Tuesday.
Not weekend.
Right back here, okay?
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.